need to switch from obviously whatever mode of ventilation you're into pressure control, right? What are the things that you need to be careful with prior to starting the open lung tool? When you need to make sure that your patient is okay. What are your things? So you can need to have adequate hemodynamic status, right? So your heart rate's got to be at least decent, and that doesn't need to be super high, doesn't need to be super low. Okay. What about blood pressure? Adequate blood pressure. Okay. Even if they're on like vasopressors or whatever, in order to increase it up, make sure that your nurse knows, so that you can explain to her or him that you're going to increase pressure, and you very well could decrease venous return and require that the nurse go up on her pressors. Okay. Also to have fluid available, because that's really quick. She can squeeze it and hopefully increase blood pressure that way. The other thing is that your patient needs to be heavily sedated, if not paralyzed and sedated. Okay, this is not comfortable. It's going to take you about 20 minutes just to do this. Okay, because you're going to open up the lungs really, really good, come down, look at your compliance, and then open them back up again and then come back down. Okay, so you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So when you switch into pressure control, what pressure control level above PEEP do I put it at? Like what number?
Ideal body weight?
Yeah, tidal volume adequate for ideal body weight. No big deal. Leave your PEEP at where it was on whatever mode of ventilation you're on prior to. Doesn't matter. And leave your rate with your tidal volume, okay, for whatever will give you a good and a normal minute ventilation, okay? So whatever pressure control you need in order to get that volume, put it on, okay? One thing fun about the Servo, and I'm not sure about those other two ventilators, is that if you are in another mode of ventilation and you go from a volume to a pressure mode of ventilation, it automatically calculates the number to assume what pressure control or pressure support level you need in order to get that same amount of volume in. So when you go from volume to pressure, 9 times out of 10 it will switch over at least enough for you to just kind of see where it is. So we're gonna leave it at pressure control above PEEP. We'll just start at, well, let me just start at like 25. Rate of 15, we'll see where that gives us the minute ventilation or not, and a PEEP of 10. I don't put my FiO2 to 100%. I need to see what changes in blood gas values whenever I'm done. I need to see if those changes are gonna be due to PEEP, and I don't need to have those numbers skewed by FiO2, even if it's just a little bit of FiO2, okay? And then what do I need to do with my eye time? I gotta change it so that I can get a 1-to-1 IDE ratio, okay? So I just watch right here at the top where it says I to E, and I just increase it till I get 1-to-1, and that gives me an eye time of 2 seconds, okay? All right. So my patient's on a PEEP of 10. I'm probably just going to go ahead and choose like my middle ground, which is a PEEP of 20 and a PIP of what?
PEEP of 20?
A PEEP of 20 and a PIP of 30, right? Okay. So a PIP of 50, which should give me around a pressure control of 30. So what I'm going to do first then is go up on my PEEP, right? Okay. Every couple of breaths. If I need to adjust pressure control or rate to get my tidal volume to where it should, to get my minute ventilation to where it should be, then that's fine. I just try not to change my pressure control just so that I can kind of see where I'm going. But minute ventilation's fine. So we'll go to 15. I went up by 3, which is fine, not a big deal. So you see how our lungs are even they're getting bigger and bigger. Okay. Everything's good. I'm gonna go to 18. Alright, now I'm gonna go to 20. The other thing I forgot to mention that you gotta make sure you do, your high alarms need to be high, and you need your pressure needs to be like 20 above your PIP goal. Your goal of PIP is 50. So just go up to like 70. You should be fine. And then make sure that your PEEP, your high PEEP alarm is higher than 20. Otherwise, you're going to have deflation because the ventilator's going to say, that's too much pressure. Okay? And then you're going to have to start all over again. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So now that my PEEP is at 20, I'm going to go up to a pressure control and only have like 3 more centimeters of water pressure to go. Okay. So at this point, what do I do?
You have to go back down.
You gotta keep going up until you reach that high pressure level.
I'm going up to my PEEP of 20 and my pressure control of 30. That's my goal because my PIP is 50. I need to leave them there for 2 minutes, right? Okay, because if you go up any further, yes, and you could go to 25 and go to pressure control of 40, but I wouldn't do that right now. I mean, you saw how flat they were before, and that's pretty effective. If somebody needs more than a PEEP of 20, their chances of survival are probably not that good anyways. Okay. So at this point, we've waited 2 minutes. Hemodynamically, they're stable. I'm looking at their blood pressure, making sure that they're A-okay. I don't need them spontaneously breathing at all. I do not need them, I say spontaneously breathing, I don't need them to initiate a breath at all. So what is my next step?
You find your critical closing pressure.
Okay, but what do I do next? I can't leave them here, right? But which one first?
Pressure control.
Your pressure control goes first. Remember, without volume, PEEP is just stenting. If you don't have volume, it must be that marriage between the two. You got to have the pressure in order to open it up, but you've got to have the volume. So the volume also is what kind of guides us to figure out, are we even expanding the lung at all? Okay? Because I can push pressure in Andy all day long, but if he ain't actually breathing, it really doesn't matter. Okay? So I'm gonna I look like I got some expanded lung fields. I mean, that one's gotten better. Down there's better. This is better. But we'll see. So I'm gonna take my pressure control down by 2 to 3 until I get what?
Your body weight tidal volume?
Ideal body weight tidal volume. Okay. Now, granted, please, whenever you are like practicing with this or whatever, look at your exhale tidal volume. Okay. Because you got a huge leak here because there's a leak somewhere. But just look at your exhale tidal volume. What I should see is larger volume for less pressure. That indicates that we have opened up alveoli. Does that make sense? Okay. And you say, well, where do you stop with your pressure control? Where I started. I started at 25. So I'm just going to leave them here, and the tidal volume is adequate. Okay. Our goal is 400. So from here, so I've still opened up and expanded lungs, right? Even though it took me some time. Now I go down on my PEEP. So if you go to trends and you scroll down, change your hours and your cursor to 1, and then click cursor you can actually scroll right here. Okay, so this is PEEP. So we're gonna go down to a PEEP of 17. Go back to trims, and it'll bring back up static compliance. It should measure it. Why is it not measuring? Hello. Dynamic compliance of 15.9, which is really crappy. But what do you notice has happened even though I went down on my PEEP?
Still the volume.
The volume's better. The exhale tidal volume's better. Why?
You open it up.
Yeah, I've opened it up. Okay, so you can't just like change people and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna continue on doing it. You need to look. We have opened up that lung. Just even by 50 cc's, it's different just by decreasing PEEP. So I know I was over distending at that point. Okay. If you didn't have trends, if you were on a different ventilator that didn't have this, how would you then look at? How would you figure out what your critical closing pressure was?
Just look at I mean, it'll calculate your compliance for you.
It should calculate
And
your
you can use
compliance
that.
for you. Yeah. You could just take this and then calculate static compliance or dynamic compliance. It really doesn't matter. I mean, like you could just do it by hand.
And I'm not like, I know you wouldn't do it this way, but
Mhm.
like, I mean, you could also use like your flow volume loop, couldn't
Yes,
you, to see the
absolutely.
ductile?
Yes, absolutely. That was really good because I was going to show you the flow volume loops. So remember, what are your flow volume
Or
loops
pressure volume
look?
loops, sorry.
I mean, yeah. What are your
Sorry, I said the wrong
what do
thing.
your ones look like whenever you are over distended? Has a
Beak.
beak at the end of it, right? So you could go. Oops. Remember, this is not a real lung. It literally may need 17 centimeters water pressure. Because it's not beaking too much. Now there is a leak right there, so maybe, you know, I mean, you've got a leak. You can really see it right here. It's not beaking. Let's just see what happens. We'll take it down to 15. Oh my gosh, look at that. Your volume just like went up even more.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can you turn it up so we can see it beak?
You might not be able to make it do it.
If
Okay,
that's
I
possible.
may-
I don't know if that's
I'm-
even possible.
I may not be able to. I'll try.
Those are gonna pop.
It may not do it for me.
It's okay. I was just curious.
It may not do it for me because there's a leak anyways.
Mhm.
So that was at 28 centimeters of water pressure for PEEP. And it still didn't do it, so it may not. So my exhale tidal volumes is still really good. And, I mean, it's even better. And if you look there, you know, that has gone up even though I got a massive leak. Okay. Now this is overall pressure needed in order to open up the alveoli. It doesn't mean that like every alveoli is open. Okay, it doesn't mean that at all. That was pretty impressive. 534 from a PEEP of 15 to a PEEP of 13. That's pretty impressive. So that's really opened. And remember, the entire process, you're opening it up anyways, all the time. Like because of those sustained inhalations, the amount of time you spend in inspiration with those PEEPs, with the pressure control, you're popping open alveoli. Did you see what happened to the pressure volume loop 2? It was like this, and then it moved up.
Mhm.
So that means compliance has gone up. 623. Holy cow. We very well may have opened it up enough. Okay, so at this point, I'm really like, I got tons of volume here, so I'm gonna turn this down to like pressure control of like 20. And it's completely appropriate to do that because what I'm trying to do is keep my tidal volume to where it should be, okay? To be lung protective. I'm gonna go down just a little bit because we're still at an exhale tidal volume of 426. Compliance is still really good though. What did you just see? That's the first time it's ever done this for me in like 10 years, since 2013. Did you see what it just did? So like the very first volume that you saw, the very first and second volume that you saw was an exhale tidal volume of like 300 and something.
Mm-hmm.
So what you saw then was a critical closing pressure. It closed at PEEP of 8. Okay, so I don't even have to have those trends. What you're doing is just looking for volume changes. So you know, okay, all right, 8's it. I'm not going to go down any further. There's no sense in completely and totally purposefully flattening them out. Let's just go back up to get to it again. What was our PEEP level that we went to?
20.
20 and a pressure control of 30. Okay, do not go right up to 20. That's a good way to get your patient coding. So just do it gently. Okay, every couple of breaths. Last 2 breaths. Last 2 breaths. Okay, oh yay, we're here. Okay. Yeah, it does not go that quick, literally. But I will change it like every 2-3 breaths, as long as they're hemodynamically stable. Do not just be like this. Look at your monitor. Look at your monitor. I'm telling you, they will decompensate. And you're like, what in the world happened? Because you didn't keep your eyeballs on it. Don't do this either by yourself, especially like first couple of times you do it. And we'll talk at the very end, there are modified ways to do this if you don't want to go that ballsy. Excuse me. Okay. Yay, we're at 30. And what's interesting too is that at this point you've got them back up to where you were, 20 and 30, right? What you typically see then is your exhale tidal volumes. Now, the second time, they are larger than what they were at the beginning because you've opened them up, okay? Yes, you've collapsed them again, but you have opened them up, and they are used to now being open at least for 10-15 minutes, right? And they like that a whole lot more. At this point, what do?
Wait for 2 minutes.
Yeah, leave them there for 2 minutes. Keep on monitoring everything. It's fine. What do I do now?
Bring it back down.
So which one? Be
Pressure
specific.
control.
Be specific.
Pressure control.
Okay. To what?
To ideal body weight.
Thank
Yeah.
you, to ideal body weight. Doesn't surprise me that I'm not seeing much of a change right here, right? Because I'm over distending with a PEEP of 20. Okay. Now what was critical closing pressure?
8.
8. So what do I need to set this PEEP on?
10.
10. Okay, or 11, but you know, 10's a nicer number than 11.
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving more volume for less pressure. That's exactly what I want. See, that was a big jump, 400 to 461. Huge. I've never had pig lungs do that. I was like, so that's good. 472. Look at that. It's Merry Christmas. 556. I mean, that's just like, it's fun. It's like you see that and you're like, I know I'm gonna get a good blood gas now. You know. So we're gonna leave them at 10, okay? And holy moly, look at that, 570. Now that's good, but I do wanna bring it back down because my lungs are sick, okay? So now, like, pressure control is now 20, okay? 20 and 10 is 30, and I still got a tidal volume that's still big, like 526. If our goal is 400, holy cow, I can really come down off of there. Then I'm not ventilating with high pressures, and I'm not shredding those lungs either. There's 460. There's 430. I mean, that's fine right there. Okay. So I know I got better compliance. Okay. Now let's see what our trends, if it actually gave me. It didn't. I mean, just don't do the trends. Just monitor it using your exhale tidal volumes. Okay. So again, now you know how to do it without the open lung tool. Well, if you ever did see the open lung tool thing that McKay has for the Servo and the Servo-u, go look at it. It's really cool. But y'all already did your little thing on